Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce to you the blue Terran. Here in the top left of Grezvin, the European champion, the Frenchman from Team Liquid. It's Clem, better known, or at least also known, as the Kid. Challenged on the other side by his Team Liquid counterpart, joining relatively recently, still making a name for himself. It is Skillous. Skillous, an up-and-coming Protoss, still not at that bleeding edge, but cutting his way there lately. He's improved a lot, and I think pretty soon, Jimmy, yes, he's on the list, the short list, for a defining card, but we'll have to see if he can take down his teammate in this best of three. If you like team kills, if you like Terran versus Protoss, or if you, most importantly, like good games for the fans, well, if I haven't given you a Pavlovian response yet, like this video, subscribe, and I'll continue to do so. And both these players, I don't think are going to give too much time to be distracted, as Clem is well known as one of the most aggressive Terran versus Protoss players out there, already starting with reactored Hellions, kind of a brittle build to kick things off, a build that essentially relies on not making any mistakes. If you lose these few Hellions, the Reaper Hellion, without doing any damage, they can come across the map and there's essentially no units to defend. You just got nothing. You're very reliant on getting some damage done and keeping map control. But so far, Clem, finding an opportunity. Reaper in the main. Distracted some of the units. The Hellions get in, only a single adept here. Here comes the Oracle, gonna light up and try to deal with it. Finds 5 probe kills. Does force the activation of the Oracle, which drains some of that energy and minimizes the chances it's gonna come across the map and do damage. So, overall, got a full scout. No better way to scout than get up in your opponent's grill and start roasting their probes. But, I think it was worth it. Not a huge amount of damage, but between the scouting and the control of the game so far, he's got enough energy for like 2 kills, but sitting at 30 energy there. You can't be turning that Oracle off and on all day. Cyclone moves in. Yeah, Cyclone and Viking. Very anti-Oracle composition. Hellion still around, managed to escape. I think a big part of continued scouting here, as that Hellion can't be really caught by any units on the field. And Clem, gonna go with the ragtag band of early mech units. He's got a Cyclone, he's got a Viking, he's got a Medevac, and a handful of Marines, and that's about it. But that apparently is enough. Gonna chase things down, and with the boost, he has vision. Actually hunts down and kills the Oracle there. Did you know Revelation also works on critters? Fun fact, I guess. If an enemy unit comes within 1 range of that critter, it'll be scouted. Working for the enemy. That's why so many players killed it. It's not why. They just kind of get in the way. But this looks like far more than enough stalkers. Well, until that tank sieges up on the high ground, Skillous probably wondering why Clem's staying around at all. Yeah, that tank is definitely the defining characteristic here. Without it, the Stalkers, even without Blink, can easily match what Clem has on the field, but Skillous not going to give too much opportunity to retreat. Already a badly bruised Viking. The tank is in the medevac to try to get back quicker. Blink done. Tank unsieged. Skillous threatening the game right now. Only 5 minutes in. Gets the tank, blinks back. Bunker starting to become less than cost-effective here, as between the bunker, the damage of the Viking on the ground against the Stalkers, there's just too much. It's just too much. But Skillous has done a great job. I want to point out he had a 3rd base behind this the whole time. This is about as active as map control gets. The Blink Stalkers take out the tank. Don't lose too many of their number. 3 Stalkers and a badly bruised 4th. But keeping the 3rd base alive, and in fact, thinking about a 4th as well. Knowing that Clem kind of expended some of his potential momentum in that first pressure, Skillous has done a great job of keeping him busy. So even as Skillous secures his 3rd, Clem will get his own. But it is kind of on Clem to use the triple threat here. that stim combat shield and +1 infantry weapons. It's on Clem to get the damage done on the other side of the map, because right now Skillous has maintained the momentum in the map control, but Clem has the army supply to strike back. How many gateways are done? 7 of them. Trying to box out for the stasis here. I don't think Clem spots it. Skillous doing a great job, and that stasis is going to make all the difference. Skillous didn't make it obvious. Fighting with the Blink Stalkers is something you're going to do either way. So now the awkward frozen force fields of the terrified Terran. What? There was a Marine in there somehow. Unstasis. But there should be enough Zealots to drive back the main army, potentially to kill these medevacs and then turn on the units becoming unfrozen. And Clem might try to consolidate his forces, but he's just going to need to pick up and get out. No, he can't. Not when the medevacs are already dead. More mines will burrow, but so far these teammates evenly match. The Oracle burning the Viking on the ground. The Viking lifts, and the Oracle finally finding itself in a bit of an awkward situation. Widowmine connects all the way down. The splash damage across the bow of the Zealots, and with some stutter step, it looks like Clem going to be able to whittle down the gateway units and force the Stalkers back, but they've taken their number and then some. That stasis made all the difference. Without it, Clem very likely has an army that can threaten the third and the game. But with the stasis, allowing some more time to get charged, and those warpins, and partitioning the army into bite-sized pieces, Skillous bit off just as much as he could chew. But right now, Clem still looking to make it difficult. The medevacs have energy, so he's going to keep stimming and keep stutter stepping forward. The charge lots eating the mine hits. There is an observer. Armory done? No. So as soon as those mines trigger, they can be taken out. But still a back and forth battle here. There's no splash damage for Skillous. A handful of Widow mines are the only thing keeping Clem from being run over by charge lots right now. But speaking of, at Clem's third base, opposite side of the map, the charge lots run in, force away some of the units, but the supply lead continues to go to the Frenchman. Shield battery overcharged to keep those Stalkers intact, but the efficiency of the bioarmy continues to be showcased here. As Clem stimming again, those medevacs starting to run out of energy, and that might be when the momentum finally shifts. But unfortunately for Skillous, there is no moment for him to go forward and chase down these units, as more units will join them. The Immortal, short-lived, ironically enough. Liberator has joined the battle. Charge lots on the opposite side. Widowmine trying to help whittle down their number. Did Skillous manage to overrun the ground army? 1-1 is done. There's just so many Marines and Marauders. And even without energy, those medevacs, enough trickles of healing in order to keep things intact. And Skillous once again forced back to his third. Trying to deal with the Widow Mine, but unfortunately it gets a Zealot and softens up another couple. The medevacs are completely, very nearly out of energy here. But very nearly is not enough. A single Colossus gonna try to target it. Clem splits and stims, not intimidated with those Marauders. Taking it down, almost knocking down the Colossi with just a single-digit number of Marauders. Reinforcements on the way, but back and forth we go. Clem still laying on the pressure. Skillous finding some tiny moments to get charge lots across the map, but Clem has dealt with it so far. The Widowmine being dragged in. Skillous technically has a fourth base during all this, but the worker counts are even, which with mules means our Terran player gonna have a bit of an income advantage. Colossus being battered by the Marauders, but barely survives. Still a liability here in this fight. A lot of damage has been dealt. Those medevacs are out of energy. A ghost has joined the fray. There's actually no anti-air, so the Oracle is fighting against the ghost. The ghost will win the day there. And it looks like maybe with the addition of these Liberators, Clem might be able to crack the defenses of Skillous. A hardy defense so far. The Liberators are taken out. Skillous continues to hold, but that grip is slipping. EMP, battery overcharge. Widowmine dragged in. Oh my, it's so close. Skillous is holding, but at what cost? I can't believe he held some of the most shoestring defense there. Literally 1 or 2 units away from death. That entire fight. The last, 3 minutes? Rarely do you see fights go on that long in this matchup. Notorious for the quick and devastating initial damage. between EMP and Widow Mines and Disruptors, oh my. But here, these two dueling it out. Armory is done. The thing is, Clem still has the momentum. He still has more than enough economy and unit composition. He's already started his 2-2, which means the armory is done and the Widow Mines are not revealed without detection. That is making things difficult at the 4th base of Skillous, who can't really afford to split his attention anywhere right now. Another mine will be cleaned up. Clem rotates around to the north side. Second Colossus is done. More Zealots will be warped in. Widow Mines are still the unit that's being relied on here. Trying to drag out the mine shots, but Clem micros back. Another mine into the main. 4 probes down. Skillous impressing me. Not that that's necessarily hard to do, but I am loving how capable the defense is. But Clem is a predator. Okay, Clem knows that Skillous is one mistake away from death here. The counterattacks, the fact that he was able to do any sort of counterattacks during all this was a testament to Skillous's skill, if you would. But he's gonna need even more. As right now, Clem is building the right army. The thing is, what do you build as Skillous? He's getting a disruptor, clearing out the mines. Clem established a 4th base, which a Zealot is about to scout unhappily. The Colossi are stepping up via the Reaper Cliff, but stepping into Viking range, of which a handful have been built. Trying to split against the mines, doing an okay job. The army supplies are still in favor of Clem, but this may be the opportunity. With +2, +1, it's going to be about as close as upgrades are going to get for a while, as Clem finishing +2. And, well, Skillous now has the army to assert some map control. He's turned his bases and his, well, the income advantage. You got to look at the y-axis over here, where the income advantage less than 1,000 to either side. Pretty much the Mule Valleys there. So Skillous using those extra bases. If you have about the same amount of workers, but you can mine from more bases, it's usually better, as those workers are more efficient. Though rarely a huge factor. So, despite the best efforts, both these players had to go back to their corners and build up a more advanced army to engage. Clem unable to press his advantage all the way into victory. Skillous held the line just barely and now has +3 weapons done. 3 Colossi, but Clem also has essentially everything he needs to deal with the Protoss death ball. Who's going to be better off in this choke point? Vikings knocking down, gets the Observer, though I don't know if there are any Widow Mines to make that a factor. Disruptor shot, Clem micros back. And the choke point seems to have favored the Terrans here, as the Colossi not able to connect after the fight. I think Skillous overestimated the capability of those Colossi to burn through. And now Clem just crushing the fight and tearing through the rest, sniping Zealots as they warp in, microing ghosts away from Ruptors. And wow, with a vengeance, crushing it. That, well, it did seem tenuous for Skillous, but I did not quite expect such a devastating fight in the middle of the map. Clem had the right army, the right spot, at the very right time. And you bring it all together, and a decisive victory for Clem there against his teammate in game number 1. All right, Jimmy. Jimmy, please, the people want to know. Did he build a pylon and a gateway? Yes, he did. In his very own base did Skillous here on Ancient Cistern. Game 2. It does feel much of the time, watching Protoss find ways to not die. Does seem to be their lot. But, still entertaining there. Who is the best Protoss right now? Is it Hero? Max Pex? Anyone else? The zest in our hearts? Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. If I was Skillous in that scenario, or even better, if I was a good... this is supposed to be self-disparaging in that I'm not good. It's going to end up sounding like Skillous is bad because I'm comparing him with me. So let's be clear. Skillous is incredible, and I just talk about being incredible. So with all that said, if I was in that scenario, honestly, I think the most success is disrupt. The Colossi are a very good. They kind of. You get one or two, maybe three, and then you switch into Ruptors. Thing is, Skillous, I don't know if he had to take the fight in the center of the map. Most of the time, we see Protoss players find more success with kind of flirting with the Terran, but never committing to a fight until you can do a big counterattack, like charge knots, or even better, DTs with Blink. In fact, he was building the Dark Shrine by the end. So, I think he got drawn into the fray there. But choke points almost always favor... Maps are Terran favorite. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But anywhere that your army gets restricted, and the Terrans can kind of focus their fire, there is no competing with the DPS of the Bio Army. If it can stand its ground in any meaningful way, it is the highest DPS army in the game, by a pretty large margin. Of course, not factoring in, like, disruptor shots landing or something, but that is something that Clem clearly was prepared for. Well, this time, no Stargate. Instead, opting for the Twilight Council. Dark Shrine. He's like, you know what I needed? DTs. Okay. You know when I needed them? As quick as possible. So, it's going to be DT drop against Terra. I haven't seen this one in a bit. As many players, Clem didn't, but many players opting for the Raven nowadays. Which, it did get a bit of a discount earlier in the year. So, not exactly something well, DT, this is completely... And he's built 3 Adepts. If I'm Clem, I'm thinking Stargate. Like, if you build this many Adepts early, this almost always translates into a Stargate build. Yeah, you see the Widow Mines going towards the mineral lines. Because you're trying to... It's a combination of trying to save gas, as well as combining with an Oracle. So I think building this many Adepts is really masking it. Oh, did he see the Prism, though? Yeah, building this... If he sees the Prism, well, that rules out the Stargate, more than likely. An Armory on the way for Clem. This actually is working out quite nicely, I think. Oh, he spots the Prism. So, at this point, he knows it was a misread. There's not any energy for scan. He's going to build a Raven immediately. Even if he doesn't know DTs, the Raven's just a good, solid choice. There is some built-in detection for Skillous. He has not built an Observer. So this is going to get real weird. There's not quite enough energy for a scan in the main. Not nearly enough at the natural. Skillous can do the math here. There's going to be a maximum of 1 scan for a moment. He can actually just fight the... It doesn't matter if you can see him. Can you kill them? Yeah, Skillous realizes... Oh, the Hellions help out a bit. Oh, he accidentally dropped one out there. Maybe, But Widow Mines at the same time. Both players abusing a lack of detection here. With some drops that would have slaughtered your average Diamond Leaguer, but instead only do moderate damage to these top-tier players. Clem not actually, as we call it, prairie dogging the Widow Mine in order to maximize or minimize, or maximize the damage. And by we, I mean me. That is about the extent of Widow Mine Micro. Well, here's the Raven. Going for the depot. Gets the depot. Clem is actually supply blocked off that. Oh, no. Okay. All right. Well, another mine drop. About as deflected as you ever could be. 2 out of 3 landing kills. All 3 fired as well, so. Skillous Going for the Archon drop follow-up. And why can't Widow Mines combine into like a super Widow Mine? After they've fired, alright? That's all we need. Just to make it fair. Oh god. Viking. Oh, double Archon drop. You gotta be a little careful. Because if he loses this, losing the Prism is tantamount to losing the game. Alright, that Prism with 2 Archons, you be careful. I don't want a quick 2-0. Obviously, you two are evenly matched, even if Clem has a... I think Clem has a slight edge, as we saw last game, but Skillous is more than capable. You better not lose that Prism. That's both going to change my opinion and my prediction for how to clickbait this game. Or series. Oh, okay, well... Oh my god. What a save! But did you need... you knew he had a Raven. You knew he had a Viking. At least he got the Archon... Oh my. That was... less than... That was about half a second away. Why? Why risk it? Well, Skillous, I think, rightfully feeling some pressure. As he knows he had to keep Clem as busy as possible. Because right now, very simply, his army sucks in comparison to Clem's. He doesn't have charge. He doesn't have that many gateway units here. He has a couple Archons and +1 now. But he needed to buy as much time as possible. He ideally gets charge done at the very least. Oh god, fighting up a ramp, loses a sentry. Force field is only going to moderately discourage any units here. That Widow Mine drop is still back there, by the way. If Skillous ever abandons that, it's gonna be a disaster. Well, the bio army's pressing in. The Robo Bay itself is vulnerable. Where's the Raven? Did he lose the Raven? He lost the Raven. Immediately forces out a scan with a DT. Good presence of mind for Skillous. In order to take advantage of that. The scan runs out, a DT warping in at that exact moment. That may buy him the few seconds he needs in order to get a Colossus out. Now, will the Colossus be enough? It's gonna have to be, as there's not much else. Charge in 6 seconds. No extended thermal lance, which means that Colossus has to get dangerously close. Widowmine fires, splashes over a lot of the army, but gonna deal with the siege tanks near immediately. Blink Stalkers blinking forward. Actually take out one of the medevacs here, but the Widowmine drop, or just Widowmines in general, came in and killed 10 probes during all this. Knocks down another medevac on the way out. Another Widowmine. Well, the Widowmine drop is dealt with. Clem maintains a significant supply lead. The not particularly huge income advantage is shattered by that probe kill, or probe kills. Oh no. And that's not gonna help. Though, we'll be able to clean it up now. Skillous with a marginal worker lead has finished the 4th Nexus, at the very least, and has his 2-2 upgrades on the way. Clem building 2 Ghost Academies. I doubt that's intentional, he just really wants Ghosts. Not sure nukes are going to be a massive factor here, but... Well, there you go, that'd be great for me. Zealots into the natural. Surprisingly little defenses. Choke point not particularly great there for Clem. So those charge lots gonna find real damage here. The SCVs have to be pulled off the line. Widow Mines will find, well, anything is nice, but 5 SCVs down. Zealots easily distracted by the chew toy of a Ghost Academy. But Clem's scrambling back with most of his army here. And that's a big win for Skillous, who now has a supply lead, a well-timed counterattack. 4th command center canceled. Army driven all the way back, and that's exactly what Skillous needed. He was trying those counterattacks last game, but Clem just had a little bit too much back at home. This time around, Clem didn't have his due diligence, maybe a little distracted, trying to fight the army, and suddenly, well, Skillous not only defends his 4th, well, they say the best defense is a good offense. I think that is a great demonstration of why, as getting anything to attack Clem at his weak point there has kept Skillous alive at his fourth better than his main army could have done. So now, remember the DTs are already on the field. The double Ds of destruction have joined us. Disruptors and DTs with Blake. The late game Protoss versus Terran army, encompassed by these units that just do devastating damage the moment they're able to dance into range. So, it comes down to control. Does Skillous have the control to compete with Clem on the open field? Or can he keep Clem busy enough to obliterate his army before Clem can react? Because still, the Terran army is ridiculously cost-effective. Between EMP, wiping out the shields, as well as the DPS of Bio on the field, or Vikings and Liberators if they're combined in. And even army with minimal disruptor hits is still going to compete well with Skillous. But Skillous has been very diligent about his upgrades. Clem, not even close to 2-2. He's going to get +2 weapons momentarily. His +2 armor's a long way off. Skillous is already a third of the way in the 3-3 and pressuring the fourth base. Completely. Somehow Clem didn't have vision of this army till it showed up. In fact, he has to lift as he's microing SCVs in and out of his command center to save them, but the disruptors try to blindside Clem. Clem actually dodges away at the last moment. Could have been devastating, instead was just hurtful. EMP's on a wave, a huge wave of charge lots, and Clem is clearly scrambling here. Skillous has turned the tables on him. He keeps EMPing, hitting his own orbital as well. The Vikings are chasing down the Colossi, but Clem, the fadeaway shots from the Raptors, finding some damage. Clem is now down in supply. Not by much, but by enough to be concerning, as Skillous has clearly taken back the initiative. Oh, it's so important in this matchup. You don't want to play defense with disruptors. You want to make the entire map dangerous. The way you do that is by fighting on multiple fronts. Clem and almost Skillous wiped him out with that first volley. You want to make it so, ideally, the map is dark and full of Protoss. And Clem didn't have vision. I don't know how he missed the main army there, but his army was completely out of position, and the fourth base almost went down because of it. Right now, Skillous is sitting right at the edge of sensor tower range. He wants to jump the army on the field. He wants to get that initiative. And Clem is just sitting back. He's building up 3-2. Yep, I'm sure he's going to have +3 armor soon. Going through the rocks here. Gotta be a little careful about the choke point. EMP, disruptors traded. The Warp Prism needs to be protected. Reinforcements are going to be very important in any of these fights. A beautifully placed observer. Skillous sees the entire army there. The Viking fleet as well. The Colossi. So this is, 2 Colossi. I think he had a third at some point, and he lost it. 3 Colossi total, 2 or 3. And then adding in the disruptors and enough charge lots to keep things busy. Still got those charge lots swinging around the south side. But Skillous playing some textbook Protoss here. Even then, though, is it going to be enough to compete with Clem? As Clem has some of the best micro in the business. Even when his back's up against the wall, that's when he's most dangerous. Distracting with the charge lots, even gonna kill some SCVs. Both players are maxed out now. Skillous is at 3-3 upgrades. Add in +1 shields in. It should be done before the 3-3 of Clem. Clearly, Skillous doesn't want to take that decisive fight that could end up in a decisive defeat. But he does want to keep the pressure on. The DTs blanket and eviscerate the planetary. Down in 3 swipes. Fadeaway shots with the Raptors. Trying to take out anything chasing the army, but he fired all his shots. And suddenly the Terran army on the chase. Well, the counterattack was successful. Does Skillous have enough time to fire again? Can he whittle down this army enough to make the difference? The Liberators will siege. The Bio Ball is so dangerous. The Disruptor is down for the count. Clem is standing his ground, though. And that Terran army, it's being whittled down, but it's cost so much for Skillous to do this. Has he lost enough at home? Yeah, Clem just doesn't have, even though he has the army supply, Skillous was able to gut the economy. Exactly what you need to do. It's a bit counter to what maybe Protoss players in Wings of Liberty. Well, the Terran army is just better on the field. But Protoss using that warp gate and essentially showing up wherever the Terran is not, that's the way to go. And Skillous handling that about as well as you could. It's so dangerous to fight the Terran army on the open field. And Skillous almost died for it. He fired off all his disruptor shots. You gotta keep one in the chamber. You have to keep one. It almost was enough for Clem to turn it around. But that brings us all the way tied up between these two teammates. I don't know what I'm doing with this. And it's Gimme! Game three. Game three. Yes. All right. So, clear difference there where Skillous was able to take back the initiative. It's these kind of games where you can tell where the momentum only shifts with map control that you can tell players are evenly matched. Okay, if a game ends because someone got caught off guard or their build was unexpected, stuff like that, I'd say, like, that's StarCraft. That's strategy. But I think these are the greatest definition of who's a quote-unquote better player. And I might be biased. My definition is someone who's able to play most of the game. Sure, may be able to undercut almost anyone at any time. Do I think that makes him a better player? Somewhat elitist and snobbily, I'll say no. It makes him a better strategist, maybe. But someone who's able to kind of control, especially, that's my favorite part of the game. The mid game. Between 100 and 190 supply, I'll say. When there's enough on the field to split your army into multiple parts and threaten multiple angles without kind of getting locked into this stalemate. Which, to be fair, is kind of rare in StarCraft 2, especially in this day and age. But I do love that kind of like moving pieces around the board style of play that we saw in the last two games. Well, unfortunately, this is a bit more of a, or fortunately, I guess, depending on who you are. Clem has had enough of that silliness. He went for the NG Bay block. Skillous calmly just took his third, and Clem proceeded to bunker rush it. Well, and so it begins. So this is what we're doing. I'm sure Skillous thinking the same thing. Gonna be a bit unhappy he didn't see this earlier, but it begins. Hellions on the way as well. We've seen this style before. This is just an evolution of that previous build. Now he's gonna try to catch Skillous out of position. Just go head towards the main. A block, though. He realizes the Hellions are a real threat here. There is a block on the ramp, but Skillous just calmly mining. Thing is, one Adept is quite literally never going to kill that bunker if there's any repair. The shield battery will run out of energy eventually. The Hellions? So Clem knows that Skillous knows there are Hellions. Which is why he's waited this long. This is one of the calmest bunker rush defenses. He should have enough for a battery overcharge. Not that I think that'll necessarily matter. Yeah. 3 Hellions can kill probes in a single volley, though. So, well, going back and forth with it. The Stalkers on the high ground should be able to deal with these Hellions. Clem, you shall not pass. Only loses one, though. Oh, killed the SCV, so eventually this bunker will die. Skillous with a counter-attack pylon. A single Marine in a bunker has made this game so complicated. more stalkers on the way across. No blink. Just vanilla stalkers here. Hellions trying to come in. Looks like the bunker will finally go down. Hellion microing around, but does he have what it takes to break up the ramp? A siege tank about to come out. And with that tank, Skillous sees it. Oh, he wants the Marauder. Oh, he eats another hit. No, the Marine! It didn't actually get any kills. In fact, that Marine, in all that time, multiple minutes in the bunker, got 0 kills. Wow. What a game. And now Skillous gonna try to break into the natural. But will he be trapped? Or will he continue to deny Clem's expansion? That siege tank is the big question mark here. Does he have enough to deal with it? Just shades directly into the center. Well, it's kind of confusing. I think that was 1 or 2 tank hits away from being great for Skillous. Why do I say that? Because the tank was about to start shooting at the adept in the mineral line. But overall, Skillous maintains a 7 worker lead, but he has 3-gate robo. I don't know. It's about even, I'd say. It looks like Skillous wants to go Disruptor drop out of this. He got a Prism, right? Yeah. There's gonna be a full... He technically saw the Robo Bay. We'll kill 3 probes. A starport only now beginning. Yeah, the Warp Prism is a pretty huge deal here. Adept in the natural to distract and maybe eat enough hits. I didn't quite kill the SCVs, but if he could get stim, that's huge, but it's already a little late. Denying mining here. Might be able to kill some of the... Nope. Gets a Marine or 2. Well, keeping him busy. A Colossus on the way. I think... Okay, so instead of going for the Ruptors, he goes for the Colossus. A much more stable quantity. Means he's not gonna essentially all in on Ruptors here. Marauders are pretty good. What a slugfest in Game 3. But somehow, these players so evenly matched that it's going to shake itself out, I think. Well, Clem will have a pretty comfortable... Whoa, that's the greatest scan of nothing he could have asked for. Scans for the natural, catches no Nexus, and a Colossus waltzing through. That is kind of a huge deal. Unfortunate. Well, and Skillous got a little supply blocked with the proxy pylon being taken out, which is quite unfortunate. Ooh. Marine spotted by the army. I think seeing that timing, as well as the Colossi, gave Clem all the info he needed to just sit back and build up. There's no obligation to do damage before your opponent gets a huge economy, because their economy is not any better than yours. So Clem confident. He's been fighting with slightly less economy, as Terrans often do throughout this series. So to be about even is better off than usual. Skillous going to have to make some tough choices here about how aggressive he wants to be. I think those choices being made quite obviously by the amount of gateways on the field. He wants to make sure no units are coming out of that natural without being contested. As getting 4 siege tanks showing up at your base and any amount of bio. Yeah, Skillous has a perfectly placed observer. The army is spotted, but the tanks are already sieged. And that means Skillous going to have to back off. He's got a Twilight. He's got +1 on the way, but he's not going to be maintaining that upgrade advantage he often likes to do. So overall, Clem has taken his position, and I think he's run with it. You can already see the supply gap widening, as with some mules at the 3rd, Skillous is stuck on this kind of early mid-game composition with the Colossi and the non-blink stalkers. This is an army good for breaking your bio pushes, ideally before starport units show up. And Clem had a very late starport, but now he has plenty of medevacs and some Vikings. Is this an attempt to hard switch into Storm? I'm not sure if he's going to go Storm or he's just going to add in some Archons, but Skillous clearly wants something to complement his army here, and he knows more Colossi is not going to be it. This Observer is the most valuable Protoss in the game right now. The MVP. As this Observer, I'm very surprised Clem hasn't scanned to kill it yet. If he hasn't noticed it. It hasn't become super obvious, but without this Observer, Skillous would be in a very uncomfortable position. It's still tough, but at least he knows. He's going to see, well, there goes the army. So, Skillous already moving to potentially intercept. A whole lot of Vikings on the field, but the Archons will be spotted. That should prompt a Ghost Academy immediately, as well as rethinking the aggression. There's the Ghost Academy. But Clem, not going to shy away. He knows his army is more than enough to threaten. That is a lot of Terran. The Zealots kind of wandering into it. Oh my god, the supply gap just... it's massive. When those 3 bases kick in, you can really get a lot going as Terran. And Clem demonstrating that. Recalling the Zealots. Probably best case scenario. Skillous trying to buy time just to fill in some more army supply. Clem doesn't have a lot in production right now either. He's just now starting his Ghosts. Otherwise, conventional units. The Viking count. A dozen of them. Those Colossi are going to have a tough day. Another key point, no Ruptors. No Ruptors with this army. He went straight for the Archons. Will Skillous try to break? I don't think so. That would be a mistake. Coming through that double choke point. The Viking count's so high, it almost one-shots the Colossi. Oof. And of course, that means the Warp Prism. They're not such pushovers on the ground as well, but the Colossi have to retreat all the way back. The Warp Prism knocked out of the sky immediately. And now Skillous' supply block locked in at 167 supply. His army supply is down 30 as well. Clem is maxed, though he doesn't have +2. Skillous gonna try to chase. No, God. Oh my God. That is so clearly a bad idea. A bridge too far. Like, that, he's literally crossing a bridge of death. +2 is done. Skillous eaten some big hits with those tanks, though. Thankfully, no ghosts for EMP, but still pretty devastating. The tanks are in a relatively workable position for Skillous. The Immortal's on the back line, trying to bash through. He's got +2 attack, which is about the best he's gonna get here. Skillous, though, it's not gonna be enough. That's not enough army. And none of those units really work well in large numbers. They struggle to get close. Oh god, the ghosts. The ghosts. EMP to soften up the Archons. The Immortals on their own pale in comparison to the damage output of the Terrans. Oh, Immortals trying their best. EMP triggers the barriers. Zealots pushing through, but it's not enough still. Shield battery overcharge, targeting the Immortals. Terran army thinning out, but reinforcements are on the way across. Last Archon barely holds, gets some extra shields. Clem picks up and actually admits something of a defeat in the fight, as the reinforcements not cutting it. But there's nothing in the main to stop him from gutting the production. The choke points between the gateways here are going to work in favor. He cancels that +3 attack. On the other side, Skillous managed to get another Prism out to do something. And once again, an impressive defense. Most Protoss would be very incredibly dead right now. But Skillous has held. Now, is it going to get any easier? Well, there might be another Warpin in the main. Skillous is a lot closer in supply than I ever expected it to be after that exchange. But even then, a single Zealot canceled before it could even be warped in. Clem comes back around. It feels a little reminiscent of game 1, where Skillous might not be dead, but alive might be pushing it. As even without 2-2, and that may be the only saving grace here are those upgrades. Even without 2-2, EMP invalidates a lot of the advantage. And the ghost count. The ghosts themselves not bad against the zealots even before they do any spell casting. Well, still some of that army in there. He actually didn't... there we go. EMP across the board. Archon starting to evaporate. Still some units in the medevacs awkwardly. Chasing down, drops out the reserve force. And at this stage, the Terran army. Well, shield battery overcharge. He targets the shield battery. Skillous still a shoestring defense. A little bit of charge lot action on the other side. There's just not enough left. There's more medevacs than units and not enough DPS to push through the healing. Skillous with a spirited series here. I'm playing him out, and he still shows up for the Colossus. But Clem, just a bit much. I am looking forward to more of Skillous, though. I think by the next time we see him, he'll have earned a card. But he ran out of cards to play. As Clem clearly experienced in that full-on macro momentum. Skillous proving quite a difficult obstacle, but gets hurdled nonetheless. Well, that was a lot of fun. I hope you thought so as well. Clem takes it 2-1. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.